Welcome back in to the David L. Gray Show, voicing truth and reason. I don't know if you've been affected by what has been called the Mandela effect or not, but many people remember having a vivid and detailed memory of news coverage of South African anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. Despite Mandela actually dying in 2013, decades after his release and after serving as president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. I'm personally conflicted with this one because I remember in college people talking about free Mandela. But I also remember thinking he was dead already when he was released from prison. But I do remember Curious George having a tail, but apparently he never did in this reality. In this reality, it's called Looney Tunes, as in music. But where I'm from, it's called Looney Tunes, as in cartoons, not music. I don't remember it being called Oscar Mayer, but I remember it being called Oscar Mayer. The Berenstain Bears were Jews in my timeline because they were called the Berenstain Bears. There was a peanut butter brand called Jiffy, not Jif. Oh, this can continue.
Hovering over the skies of a post-Christian society, we have spotted a man with a donut in one hand and rosary beads in another.
Child, I'm about to whoop Satan's behind.
He is boldly proclaiming truth and reason like no rigid Catholic ever has before. The David L. Gray Show begins now.
In my reality, Mona Lisa didn't have a smile. The fruit on the Fruit of the Looms logo had fruit spilling out of a cornucopia. But in this reality, there is no cornucopia. I clearly remember it being called Sex in the City, not Sex and the City. In this reality, the Monopoly Man isn't wearing a monocule, but where I'm from, he did wear a monocule. And it's not just an American thing. Some Europeans don't remember Volkswagen logo having a line through it. But the question is, was history retroactively changed, or are massive amounts of people just experiencing false memory? It is true that some things can be explained by the conflict between reality and parody in popular culture, such as when people remember Sally Fields saying,
"Oh, Frank, you really like me."
In her acceptance speech for Best Actress in Places in the Heart. They remember that way because that's how it was repeated in movies and on TV shows and in parody. But what she really said was,
"And I can't deny the fact that you like me. Right now, you like me."
Or when people say they remember Mr. Rogers saying, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood," they remember the parody, not the reality, what he actually says.
A beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
That is not the case with the death of Nelson Mandela, or with Fruit Loops being called Fruit Loops, or the Flintstones having two T's instead of one. I don't remember two T's. When it comes to natural explanations of the Mandela effect, there is no one shoe fits them all. Again, sure, some examples could be due to massive false memory, spurred on by parody and popular culture. Some researchers attribute the Mandela effect to hypnosis, that apparently people who experienced the Mandela effect at some point in time had been hypnotized, and during hypnosis, their memory was altered, and when they woke up, some things were slightly off. The problem with the hypnosis idea is that it's always the same things that people remember differently. So did we all experience the same hypnosis by the same hypnotist? We all just remember the same Mandela events differently? It's true that the brain is a very delicate place. And we've heard from women and from children who experience abuse and rape, and they do sometimes misremember their attacker. And people have been in prison and have been given a death penalty over mismemory, over false memory. The natural or normal solution options of the Mandela effect, none of them really bump up against Catholic theology. But one of the paranormal solutions do. It is the one that says that people experience the Mandela effect because at some point in time, the multiverse had a collision where one or more universes collided or merged, and everything wasn't reconciled well. Or two or more timelines converged and things changed, but parts of our memory did not. This explanation has problems even outside of Catholic theology. For example, why was it just commercial brands or things that we remember from TV that changed? Not things like the names of our parents or names of schools where we attended or they're arguing that the timeline convergence affected only our senses of sight. No one remember that smells changed or that taste changed or sounds changed retroactively. No one has ever said, oh, I remember an orange smelling like a pear. Although we do oftentimes hear people saying that things moved. I remember this building was over there, that type of thing. I remember a girl I dated in college. She told me that her last name, right? But when I kept calling her that, she said she never told me that. Was that a retroactive change in her last name, or could I not just keep counting the women I was seeing? But if the timelines converge, then why are there not more things about, for example, my body that I cannot explain, like cuts and bruises? I'm supposed to believe that in the multiverse of all my different versions, we all had the same bruises. I'm open to the idea of timeline convergence because I don't remember, honestly, my childhood before I was 5. A lot of people don't. But even old pictures of me do not really look like me. I don't think so. I used to think I was adopted, but anyway, there's a host of theological problems that cannot be reconciled with the multiverse. With the multiverse, there would have to be, for example, multi-Christ and multi-final judgments, which could be possible, but also irreconcilable with a God who said he died once and for all, not multiple times for all. Now, the paranormal solutions that does not bump up against Catholic theology is the idea that we are just experiencing the Mandela effect because we are just real living beings who are living in a real simulation. So this theory recognizes that things do retroactively change because the code for the simulation we're living in changes, or simulations are reconciled into each other like a word file being merged and updated. We're just living in a coded reality that makes a lot of sense in some ways, because creating simulations is something we're best at doing as humans. As humans, we're always imagining scenarios in our head. We're always creating simulations and many things all day long. From when we wake up, we sort of imagine our day, or when we're at work or something, we imagine what we're going to prepare for dinner, how we're going to prepare it. We imagine what we're going to say to our spouse and children. We imagine how they're going to respond. We come up with these scenarios. We dream. When we create art, it's based upon nature. We're simulating. The idea that simulations are just math code is also very realistic. Nature itself follows the golden ratio, which is just math. The definite number of things plays a very important role in the scriptures. Math is throughout scriptures, from the 7 days of creation to 70 times 7, to 153 fish that were caught, to 144,000 that were going to be saved. From what we have discovered so far, even from the quantum mechanics and the study of subatomic particles in a large hadron collider, is that there is a mathematical symmetry to the foundations of the entire universe, and that even particles and photons of light themselves can correct themselves retroactively, meaning that they can go back in time and that they can time travel and correct themselves. And this is why we might have retroactive mismemory or deja vu events if the simulation is going through these corrections or going back in time and bringing us back and restarting us. I don't know. If this is just a simulated world, then also a lot of things could be explained.
I'm telling you, I'm getting the off, and there's a reason why I'm getting the off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real.
Such as unidentified aerial phenomenon that humans are incapable of creating it, and that fly at speeds and change directions at such speeds that we have not achieved. Are these things we call UFOs actually probes from our parent simulation? It might explain strange encounters with beings like those at Lake Baikal in Russia in 1982, when 7 Russian divers were harmed by some very advanced beings. Were those just visitors from the parent simulation? Then we look at how realistic video games have become and look at, for example, the upcoming City Skylines games and how the characters in that game are going to be using artificial intelligence to navigate how they drive through the city you build. You consider all this, and we sort of become stuck with having to deal with the fact that we might be living in a simulated world, but what version is this simulation? Like, we're on the precipice of creating a simulated world ourselves that people can enter into. What version would that be? Is this the second version? Is it the 5th, the 100th? We don't know. Which version are we about to create? Nevertheless, the idea that this world is just simulated, and that is why we have such hard limits on how far we can go in the water and how far we can go to space, makes sense. That's how games work. That's the simulated world works. So you always have these limits that you can't go through. And in fact, the simulated world, I think, makes sense too, because it reconciles to God. Like, whatever version of simulation is, whether we're in the first simulation or the 5th, there had to be someone who created the people who made the first simulation. And this is just a simulated simulation, this world we're living in. Then our faith and prayers still can break through the simulation, can still break through the code, which allows for the supernatural and for miraculous things to occur inside of the simulation. So there are many possible answers to why we experience what is called the Mandela effect. But of all the mainstream ideas, the only one that I find that we cannot reconcile to Catholic soteriology and eschatology is the multiverse idea, or the multiple timeline idea. And that's all I know about that for now. Just remember that nothing I said in this video affects the one job you're being called to do since your baptism. Go be in the world who the liturgy has been forming you to be. Go be in the world who you have received in the liturgy. And go live your life like salvation matters. But until then, and until next time, blessings and shalom to you and to yours. Thank you for watching the show. For more content, just smash that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you'll be notified whenever I upload new content, hopefully, but not always. You'll get that notification. And also, please consider becoming a sponsor of the show. You can do this a couple ways, either by going over to patreon.com/David O'Gray, and just for a couple dollars a month, you'll have access to all of our exclusive content over at stdominicsmedia.com, or become a YouTube member of this channel. And again, for just a couple of dollars a month, you'll have access to all the content on this YouTube channel that is older than 5 months. But either way, please keep me in your prayers and I'll keep you in mind. And remember that Jesus loves you and is there for you. Thank you.